this is amazing. It's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Water.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the fishies!
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around. Woo.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend, I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannon's insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride.
ride with Shannon's.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan De Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. It's Michael Cunningham that's got around Dylan De Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cunningham's got past, so Dylan.
Light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have a green light and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan De Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes as the safety car pulls in and we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the fishies, any of the piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're off.
First lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannon's.
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he undercommitted it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we get a good run. Dodds just absolutely think about it. It's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sim Racing World TV, and welcome back to the SRW Formula 3 Shannon's Insurance Nationals. But it's been a slight change here for the F3 Nationals now, ladies and gentlemen. We finally got our car change involved. We're here tonight for round number 4 of the Formula 1 Shadow Series, of course. So during our little season break that we have here for the next 3 weeks, we've got 2 rounds for you on Wednesday nights tonight, and then in 2 weeks' time we've got another round for you of the Formula 1 Shadow Series. These will be mirroring the Japanese Grand Prix and the Chinese Grand Prix coming up, but here tonight we're out at Suzuka to mimic the Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, I'm your commentator Hamish Munro. Joining alongside me, usually on his holiday at this point, but not here tonight, it is Cowie, your average sim racer, Andrew Cowan. Cowie, great to have you back, mate. Great to check out how these new cars are going to test our drivers going forward in these next 2 races prior to Season 2 coming about. But just before you quickly start talking, I've got to quickly just fix this, just 2 seconds. But it is really going to offer us up a great challenge here tonight for the drivers to check out. But how do you think they're going to be able to become accustomed to these cars and the changes or the differences that they might have compared to the Formula 3s of prior, which were about 10 years old at this point?
Well, no idea really is the correct answer, seeing I haven't really had a chance to drive these cars. Just having a quick look at them now and seeing a couple of teammates there using each other for the draft there, trying slingshot. I think that was Gallo and Byrne. But yeah, look, it's a great track, Suzuka. Always an awesome racetrack, and these are the new super lights. Well, we wanted to be able to offer, the weather if it decides to, play havoc, but that means going to these cars, and I mean, it's early days yet. We'll see if the drivers love it as much as they love the F3s, but it's a new challenge, so hopefully everyone's on board and, raring to go.
Well, what it will offer us is the possibilities, isn't it, of that changeable weather coming in. Of course, it'll be a big part of SRW going into Season 2. 3 nights of our 6-night racing series will get rain. Of course, the Wednesday night for the SF24s for the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals, the Thursday night Toyota GRH6 Nationals, and then as well as the Friday night IMSA Shadow Series brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools. So all of those series are now going to have the possibility of rain coming to them. We thought we had whisperings that this race may have a lot of rain in it from hearing how drivers were going through their practice this week and just kind of seeing how things were kind of progressing out on track during the practices. But we've got clear skies at the moment. There is a 6% chance of rain later in the day, but whether the clouds will get here early enough for us to really experience that wet weather here under racing conditions for the first time, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Of course, Daniel Byrne, he's currently our defending champion for this series. We're riding along with him now. He's his teammate ahead of him, David Gallo. They currently sit top of the timing tower here for practice. So this is what these races are going to give us, Carrie, more than anything, is kind of where the drivers may lie going into Season 2 and who may be in an advantage opposed to other drivers in this series, as Byrne has a massive off there at the pit entry, but it is the end of practice, and we'll now get into qualifying for the first time.
It is going to be interesting. Remember, it is a sprint format tonight, so 20-minute race followed by 40-minute race with that reverse top 10 that always shuffles the deck up quite nicely for us. But as you said, look, this is the first race with the new car. Some of these guys might have gone out and done some officials or done some races in these cars already this season, but not for SRW, and I reckon there's a bunch of them out there that, before they jumped in, started practicing for this race, would have been their first run of this car. So there's lots of things for them to work out, to find where they can push the limit, how hard they can push it, how much it's like the old car, how much it's unlike the old car. So, yeah, lots of questions tonight. We'll see how the regulars do.
Well, unfortunately for you, Cow, you're now going to have to learn a whole new set of liveries as we go into Season 2. As even the Carlins boys have actually changed their colours up for this next season. Of course, they're running now the black and the red instead of the red and white colour scheme on their new SF24s. Of course, the main difference, of course, is these cars have got slightly more aero on them. Now, I was misinformed last season when I mentioned these cars had DRS. They don't have DRS, but they have got a lot more downforce on them, so they will still be able to carry more speed through corners, which should lead to us getting some closer racing. But also the lap times coming down a little bit. Even though these cars are slightly slower down the straight than the Delawa F3, they will still offer us up some great battles. And it should be very interesting to see, again, how the drivers progress, how they get better in these cars, and how they find those little nuances of where they can gain that little bit of pace, but also where they can get a little bit more comfortable in it as well as time progresses on through the next season.
Well, if they've got a slightly less power down the straight, that's probably going to bring the toe even more into the equation. More aero will mean, greater sort of brick style movement of the air, so the car behind, you get close enough, get in that toe, and you get sucked up onto the back of the car in front. So I think already we've seen a couple of the guys out there sort of practicing that toe and how much of an effect it's going to be on board with Daniel Byrne in behind his teammate David Gallo. So position himself. Maybe if we stay on board here and we can have a look and we can just see how much that gap is closing up. Gallo, our Season 1 champion as well, so he's got some pace. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much this gap closes up.
Well, speaking of pace, Byrne went purple in the first, but Gallo managed to gain on him there in the second, so it may still be a tight race for both these Carlins drivers, as you mentioned. Gallo was our Season 1 champion, but he was also the final champion in the Formula 3 car for our old car that we ran, the Dallara F3. The question is, who may we see become the first champion to win in the SF24? If we were to go through who we had in the field last season, Cowie, obviously not even thinking about who we may get next season, joining the series as a return or as a debut, who may not have raced in Season 1. Out of the Season 1 drivers, who do you think may be the best chance to win that first championship in the SF24 at the end of Season 2?
I think it's too early to be making any calls because, again, it's a different car. You'll learn a different way to drive it. That is really interesting looking at those timers up there. So, we're seeing where the toe could provide an advantage, where there's a couple of straights. That's where Byrne is getting purple sectors. Now, where the toe maybe might affect your downforce and give you a little bit less downforce in the twistier sections, that's where Gallo was up. So that is interesting, so that balance between, having grip when you need it and getting a toe when you need it.
Now, obviously, there will be some class changes coming into Season 2. We've left certain drivers in their previous class at this stage, including Andrew Johnston, who won the Pro-Am Championship last season. So coming into Season 2, he will move up into Pro, but we've just left him in Pro-Am at this stage in time. That'll all come with our kind of preparation for Season 2. We know what classes people are going to be in. We can just do it all at once instead of doing them one at a time. So, but he will be a Pro next season, of course. He had a great run last season, Cowie. We even thought he was going to get put in Pro by the end of Round 3, but he kind of struggled a little bit in Round 3 and then said, well, you could just leave me in Pro-Am for now. In the end, it was still a close battle to the end of the season, but it was going to be pretty insurmountable for someone like Gerard to beat him in that championship run up until the final checkered flag flew in the final round.
Well, apart from the Pro class, the Pro-Am and the Am class, both leaders had big, healthy, 50-plus point leads going into that last round, and that really meant that they could afford a P20 finish and still walk away with the title. So it was sort of all uphill for the guys in second. They did have a go, and there was some interesting battles on track, but really the biggest moment was the round before when Byrne got taken out in the lead, and that switched the points around between Gallo and Byrne, and in the final race they finished basically side by side. the line astern, so not enough points for Byrne to get that gap back.
It's
So
gonna
it's the way racing goes sometimes, buddy. It can be a big moment
It is.
that decides it. It can be on-track action. It can be, a mistake from someone not even, remotely involved. Just goes to show you've got to, I suppose, consistency is key, but sometimes, big chunk of points losing it can really, really hurt you.
That's exactly right, mate. And of course, off the back of our announcement on Sunday night as well, ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to formally announce on here as well that our final round of the Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am will take place this upcoming Sunday. Unfortunately, we kind of overlooked the fact that it was going to be Easter Sunday this last week. We got into the session, there was about 12 drivers in there, and we thought, hey, let's just push it back a week, let the drivers get a bit of extra practice, and anyone who may have been away will then get the opportunity to race this upcoming weekend. And then that's when we'll run our final round. And if we don't get the numbers that we might be expecting for our final round, it may change to a sprint race format opposed to the Enduro. But all that will be decided on race night of what the race structure will likely be going into that race. But we just thought it'll give drivers more of an opportunity to race and give us an opportunity to put on the best racing possible as well. So we apologise for the kind of short notice of changing that. But it was kind of, pick one way or the other, and we thought that was going to be the best option for not only us, but for the drivers as well, and for the viewers too. So, but we look forward to that race happening this Sunday. I was super excited for it. Now it's kind of pushing it back a week is making it a little bit more exciting. And hopefully it should be a good race for us anyway out at Sebring.
Well, by more practice, you mean more time to work out how to destroy your tyres.
Yeah.
Having to double stint a
Exactly.
set out there because they've taken it away. We can only use one extra set of tyres out there, and it's a 2-stop race. So that car is pretty sketchy the last few laps.
You know what though, Cowie? The tyres are made to last a full tank of fuel. So you should be able to double stint on a half tank in that race, but we'll have to wait and see how it works. It might actually lead to more drivers coming in slightly earlier on their first stop, and then on their second stop, around about the halfway point, they change the tyres to then get to the end, just to kind of make it home. So as we stand there here in qualifying, it is Daniel Byrne, P1 at this stage on the road with a fantastic time of 1 minute 49.69. He's only currently challenged by a man who didn't really have any part to play in the championship last season, but he was, a race winner, and he was a major challenger for race wins. I'll have to see if he can bring a challenge into season 2. It's Dylan DeBono from Velocity Sim Labs. So it's all going to be up to him to really get this all knuckled down now and try and put a big challenge into this championship. Of course, championship leader for the Formula 1 Shadow round prior to our last was Caleb Ballack. He's not out there here tonight, though, and I'm not sure if we will see him this week or in our next race out at April 17 for Freeway Speedway. But hopefully he can make another appearance throughout this season to try and keep the challenge going for this F1 Shadow title. Marcus Knitska currently sits P3 on the grid. We have Matty Gerard down in P4. P1 for the Pro-Ams at this stage, and then Greg Bradley makes up the top 5 as we currently stand. David Gallo, Formula 3 champion, currently sits P6 on the road at this stage in time for Collins Motorsport.
Yeah, well, Byrne got a nice slipstream there before, but I think he ended up bettering it with that. And Gallo now has got into the 49s as well to join his teammate on the front row provisionally at the moment.
And that's without
So
a
he'd be
tow
happy
as
with
well.
that.
That was
Well,
without
yeah,
a
there
tow.
was well, there seems to be a couple of middle purples coming up in the middle sectors. So you, I think what we're seeing is, the tow is one thing, but you can lose a lot of downforce in behind another car in through the twisty section.
Yeah, because of the washout.
Yeah, just that aero wash that, tows you along the straight and, breaks the air for you wonderfully there. But when you need the air, you can get the car to turn in, it's not there. It's because it's getting broken. So it's a little bit more slipperier. And I think that's what we're sort of seeing in the way the times are playing out at the moment.
One thing we can appreciate as well, Cowie, is we actually have a little reminder who we might be on board with, because Gallo and I assume Byrne does have their name on the top of their wings, although that will change once the new number boxes come in and the Shannon sponsorship goes on top of the wings for next season. So, but it is nice though to have a little reminder here tonight who we might be on board with. when we're not looking at their helmet, or maybe the timing tower's on the screen for whatever reason. So just a nice little touch for us to keep reminded whose car it is that we're looking at. And maybe it's just to help you get used to these new liveries as well, Kelly.
Well, I know with our team we sort of go a colour scheme, so it's fairly similar sort of patterns for each of the cars, so the Mustang and the Holden in our case. But, you know, it'll be a different colour, so, you know, driver gets to choose his colour. These cars are both red and black, so a little bit harder. It's that helmet that's giving us the change, though. What's that, a fluoro yellow?
Yeah, they have
on
a slightly
Burn,
different airbox intake. So Burn's got the kind of Dayglow yellow, where Gallo's got the red. So that's kind of our differentiation between them. Of them on track, yeah. My team used to run personal colours, Cowie, and the person who made the liveries got sick of making a separate livery for every single driver with different colours. The only difference now that I run the team is their drivers have their personal race number on the roof and their name on the back of the wing, and that's the differences between the cars.
It doesn't take much to use bucket fill and select by colour group.
Yeah, but it can get annoying sometimes having to do
I know, the shadow and the
work
blending of the lines,
Yeah.
and that can be a bit painful. Tyson was quite a whiz at it and able to do it fairly quickly, but even then it would take him half an hour to muck around with one car. And again, he was a bit particular in making sure he got all of those lines and not having, you know, weird colours blending. Alright, well look, we're inside the final 3 minutes of qualifying. It's a sprint round, so it's going to cut off as soon as, you know, the lap ends. So we'll keep an eye out if there's anyone that's going to maybe get another lap in. I don't know if these Carlin boys here are going to get around with a chance to get another lap in. So this might be the one that counts for them.
Well, I
at
think
the moment,
now
Gallagher,
that
the one getting the slipstream.
Yeah,
that
now that he's got that
purple and
slipstream,
greens.
he could be on here to actually beat Burns' time, although his fifth sector was not better than his previous best. So maybe there's a little bit of hindrance there coming through that little section. Gallo gets released.
Shaky exit maybe onto the back straight there. So sometimes you don't get that run quite right. You can give up a little bit of time. He's gone orange last two sectors, so he has improved though. Wow.
So he goes
149.618.
Yeah.
What's that? 800ths of a second or 700ths of a second ahead of his teammates. So, you know, again, as we're used to, it's close margins between these guys, and it's a new car, so not much has changed.
No, that's right. And one thing we must mention as well, I do believe that this is Steve Sinkovic's possible final race for a little while, as he'll be moving his rig fairly shortly. So this might be the final opportunity we get for a little while to see a Sinkovic crash, and he's at least given us one on camera for us to check out here towards the end of qualifying. Dougie Gowans gets himself up into P7, so that might be a good end to his qualifying off the back of that one as well.
Cam Hardwick in the chat there. Good luck to the Velocity boys. Seem to be happy to see Gowans up there, and DeBono P3 at the moment. So I don't know if Dylan's out there on track. I think he is. Maybe he'll get a chance to try and finish it. Well, Doug's not going to get a chance to finish this lap inside the final minute.
DeBono won't either. He's only just come through the first couple of sections, so
yeah,
he's not going to get a chance either.
So we've got anyone near their end of their lap coming
Dean
around?
Sinkovic he's coming around now, so we'll see if he's able to better his lap time. He comes through the final corner to cross the line. Does he go any better off the back of that lap? He was better in the first sector. Unfortunately, no, it will not be an improvement for him. DeBono, though, has gone purple in the third, but he's not going to be able to make it home within the next 20 seconds to actually get the benefits of that portion of the track. So,
unfortunately, yep, with it's a sprint round, it'll cut off in about 10 seconds now, and he's a bit more than 10 seconds away from the line. So, though, it's going to be interesting. So far, the weather gods have stayed away for the drivers. I'm sure, although these guys would be up for the challenge of driving in the rain, I think maybe for the first race for the new car, these guys would like it to be, you know, nice, cool track, no precipitation, and plenty of grip.
that's right, mate. Well, our starting grid for tonight's race of round 4 of the F1 Shadow Series will see a Carlins Motorsport P1-2, a front row lockout for David Gallo, our defending Formula 3 champion, and Daniel Byrne, our defending Formula 1 Shadow Series champion. So 2 champions on the front row together. Dylan DeBono will start in behind for Velocity SimLab in P3, alongside Greg Bradley out of P4. Matty Gerard and Marcus Knitska will then make up the 3rd row in behind, with Doug Gowans and Andrew Johnston making up the 4th row of the grid. Brad Hudson and Callum Rosanita will make up the top 10, with Rosanita getting home P1 for the amateurs in qualifying there. Daniel Fritz and Dean Sinkovich will then start alongside each other in row number 6, with Matt Tessiero, Tyler Sheaf, Kevin Wakefield and Steven Sinkovich making up the top 16 cars on the road. Martin Walker will then be the final card, as you said, a lap time in qualifying, with Sam Katakazinos, Ryan Price and Greg Johnston unable to do so. Thomas Freeman and Greg Barber will be our race controllers here tonight. Big thank you to them for coming and joining us for tonight's proceedings, but we will get ready to go racing here for Suzuka, and it should give us some beautiful racing around an absolutely beautiful track. Cowie, what would you say, if you've got one, is your favourite moment from Suzuka's history of open wheel racing?
Look, I think there's been a couple of sort of great battles of the Schumacher days. Was it him and Kimi Räikkönen, and who else was it? I can't remember. Might have been Webber going up the inside. I remember 3 into 1. Yeah. Might have even been Hamilton involved in that as well, because it was like a 3 into 1, and I couldn't believe how they did it. There was one where was it Schumacher went up the inside of 3 or 4 cars and somehow stole it. So there's been a couple of awesome moments here. It is such a great track, very technical, very fast, but it's also, it opens up at the right places where you can make moves.
Well, I mean, how else could you also forget, obviously, the big 2 moments that may have happened here in the late 80s, early 90s between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. You know, obviously, turn 1, start of the race, Senna just had to make sure that Prost didn't finish and he'd win the championship, and put it up the inside, and they both went off at turn 1. And then on the opposite side of the scenario, Prost needed Senna to not finish to win the championship, and put it up the inside of him at the second to last corner at the chicane, and he wasn't able to keep going because the marshals decided to push his car, and that meant that he had to get towed. So
Schumacher Hill, but I think that was at Adelaide where that happened.
Yeah, that was at Adelaide. Yeah, and there was another one as well, actually, between Schumacher and a Williams car. It was between him and Jacques Villeneuve out at Jerez, where he tried to do the same thing he did to Hill at Jerez, but Schumacher ended up in the sand pit and couldn't get going, and Villeneuve went on to win the race and came P4 or 3 in the race and won the championship. So
they play for keeps in F1. I don't know if it's going to be the same here tonight in our Shadow Series, but it is the Challenge Formula 3 Formula 1 Shadow Series about to get going, and no big puffs of smoke, so you don't light it up to get these cars off the line.
No, it's good to see that they're able to get a nice clean getaway into turn 1 for the first time. It is, of course, the debut of the Super Formula Lights, or the SF24 as they are also known, as they come through the big winding S's for the first time here out at Suzuka. This is just, it's a phenomenal track car combo, isn't it, Cowie? You go open wheel racing around Suzuka, and when you get a lap together, or you get a couple laps together, it just feels absolutely phenomenal around here. And I reckon this could lead to us having some fantastic racing here tonight between them. Beckello leads them in towards underneath the bridge for the first time, with Byrne in behind, DeBono P3. Bradley Knitska make up the top 5. Johnston's just dropping a couple of spots here off the start, ran it slightly wide there, and he now runs back in P10 in behind Fritzy, who's making his re-debut back into the F3 Nationals. Hutto just ahead of him, as well as Matty Gerard. That's the top 4 for the Pro-Ams, back from P7 back to P10. Sinkovich is just lost a spot there to Rosanita, who's actually lost off the start here to Tessiero. He now leads the amateurs as well as we come around the long winding left towards the alternative start-finish straight here out at Suzuka.
Boys going 2 abreast there. And I don't know if that is Byrne going through on Gallo. It is. And look at DeBono with a... Oh, that close. Contact!
Oh, there's contact! That is massive contact!
Oh, I think, is that...
that was Bradley involved as well.
Catacazina, something. No, wasn't that? It was Bradley caught up in it.
That's got to be a safety car, Cowie. Look at De Bono's car. It's on its side.
Broken cars. And they're still going at it back here.
That was absolutely massive.
Oh, we jumped on board at the right time to see what happens, but it was De Bono with a big slipstream and a run around the outside. You know, you do go pretty wide there at that corner. You can just see, look at the difference in speed he's got there. He's floated around, and then their contact. And I think part of the problem was De Bono was out there. He had to come in at some point there. He was going to end up on the grass. I don't know if Gallo knew he was there. So that'll be an interesting one for race control to have a look at, but a big moment here early on. And surely there's a safety car.
Yeah, I reckon there might be, because it's and that's one thing we didn't speak about, Cowie, is how many safety cars we might get in the new car, but maybe we'll use this race to kind of determine how many we may get thanks to the new car. Just a bit of a curb strike there from Hutto. That's what sent him round off the back of that one.
Overheating the tyres as well.
So we head back to live pictures. Is it going to do it for me?
At the moment, haven't seen any sign of. It is safety car just called by race control, so they.
Yeah, look, I mean, those cars still parked up, so.
Yeah, they're all waiting for a tow and not going anywhere, so.
So safety car has been called by race control. That's how we currently stand at this stage in the timing tower. 20 cars out there, including our safety car who would have just joined the grid, that being Mr. Greg Barber, and it is the return of the promo department safety car. I just need to make sure that his car is up to date for me, because it actually has his GT livery on the car. So.
Yeah, but I think there might have been an issue and Greg's had to jump in it, so I'd say that the other race controller here tonight was going to jump in it rather than Greg. Yep, so he's saying here there's maybe some issues with voice chat and that as well, but he's out there in the BMW, just bring the cars in, try to calm the field down. There's quite a bit of mess going on there. And maybe a chance for us to have a look and see what happened from, to some of the other guys there as well.
Yeah, we'll go on board with Greg Bradley, who is caught up in the moment as well. So he was coming round. We'll get a good view here of the incident up ahead. So obviously just massive incident. He's tried to pick a line. They've got nowhere to go. And he's across the track. And then he's just a sitting duck at that stage. And you'll see Rosanita come in. He tried to pull it up, just wasn't able to. Then there was Hutto. He tried to pull it up too. So just a massive schmozzle there off the end of that one. We'll go to this one as well, just to give us an idea of Rosanita as he came through. So that's there, Bradley up ahead with De Bono. You can see here, he couldn't see anywhere to go. He had someone on the inside, tried to pull it up, and then just a collection after that. Actually, it was Wakefield, not Hutto. I do apologise, but yeah, just a tough start to this race, Cowie, and a tough start to the life here in the SF24, early days, of course. But defending champion of the F3s, David Gallo, De Bono and Bradley all out, fairly early, and they're now back down the order, and it's going to be a fight back for them here, as they will be a lap, if not 2 laps down, although the safety car is now pulling away. So, in fact, they're coming out of the pits, although De Bono's still in there, so maybe he won't continue the race, but we'll have to wait and see. But Bradley and Gallo, they're getting back out there, but they will be a lap down, of course, as well.
Interested to see what race control has to say about that incident there, because I think, De Bono had a lot of speed, but, you can't sweep around the outside there and rejoin, so it may be considered an unsafe rejoin from off the track. But it's an interesting one because you do run a little wide here at that corner and get away with it. See where the grass comes up quite quickly on you there too. So, Anyway, we're getting ready to restart the
And I
field in the
believe he's
hands of...
gone. Oh, no, he hasn't. It looked like he was going at pace through there then for a second.
Nah, he held him right near
Right
the
to
line.
the
It did look like he was going to go, but he didn't. So interesting.
So Byrne leads them away to Kanitska to Gowans to Gerard to Sinkovic. That's the top 5. Chiefs,
see the
Katagazinos, Fritz, Price, and then Steve Sinkovic makes up the top 10.
You know, they were 4 wide there going down the front straight. That was awesome to see, that mid-pack battle. Hudson, Tessuero here, Johnson getting involved. So Tessuero got caught out a little bit there by Johnson. Nice move.
And I guess, Cowie, one thing we can also kind of make mention of is the drivers who actually gained off the back of that initial incident. You know, they kind of took advantage. One of those being Steven Sinkovic, who finds himself inside the top 10, I think possibly ever, outside of a pit stop period. You could update me on those stats. Pricey, he's up 10 spots thanks to this as well. He's inside the 10 on debut. Katagazinos is up 11 inside the 10. And then Dean Sinkovic, P1 in the amateurs, P5 on the road. You know, if he can hold this together, this could be an exceptional run from him.
Oh, it is early days yet. These guys still getting used to driving this car. We are about 8.5 minutes into the first of our 2 races here tonight. This is a 20-minute heat race. The top 10 from here will get reversed for race 2. So P10 is the one to keep an eye out. At the moment it is Brad Hudson, our resident admin machine. He's holding that P10 down, so if he finishes in this spot, he will have the front row and pole spot off the line for race number 2, that 40-minute feature race. Now, we haven't talked about fuel. Haven't really got any information from the boys, so I don't think that this one's going to be a fuel stop. Tyres going to be interesting. Obviously, if the weather comes in, that you know, I don't think you're going to see these guys wait very long at all to change to the wet tyres. But in the F3s, we've always talked about, you know, tyres being not worth the gain. So even in the 60-minute races, you mostly see the whole field stay on old rubber rather than coming in and risking, you know, the first couple of laps on fresh cold rubber. But yeah, this is a new car. It's all going to be different. So we'll have to see how they behave. You know, if the tyres can get up to life quite quickly, then you're going to start to see, you know, tyres and undercuts, you know, become a part of the norm as they are in the supercar races. Because that you know, fresh rubber when you first get it on a supercar, it's worth at least a second a lap, sometimes even more.
So on board now with Ryan Price, who is looking to have quite a strong run here on debut. He's keeping the gap to Hutto in behind him quite nicely at this stage. About 0.7 of a second in behind Hutto, though, gaining under brakes just a little bit here. But we could start to see a nice little battle start to form between them later in proceedings. But, I mean, the battle that we kind of want to keep an eye on here is Sheafy running up on the back of Katagazinos. He's got Fritz in behind him here. And this is all the battle pretty much for a top 5 position. Gerard's now found himself on the podium as he's now gotten past Dougie Gowan. So the teammates swapping positions there. Of course, new liveries on these Velocity Sim Labs cars, and I must say they are a nice upgrade on them. I don't mind Gerard's kind of
sparkle.
Yeah, and like that pale kind of, it's almost like a sepia type of color. That creamy sort of yellowy color with the black. It is a really nice combo on that Super Formula Light.
Certainly, yeah, they do look good. I like the way, the nice sheen on the lettering as well. Of course, it's going to take us a while to get used to all of the liveries out there. Mr. Kanitska is having a great run at the moment. He's keeping that gap to Daniel Byrne down to 1 second at the moment. So I think he's staying close enough to be inside that toe, and maybe, you know, not close enough that it's affecting that front wash. Or moment from Kevin Wakefield. That looks like it might have been a pretty good save in the end there.
Yeah, he was very lucky not to hit the wall off the back of that, or even run into Callum Rosanita out there in his camouflage car. We can barely see him on track from time to time when he's out there in this livery. But Daniel Byrne leads the way. We obviously were hoping for a nice 1-2 battle between him and Gallo, but fortunately for Gallo and Bradley, their race kind of ended prematurely, and they're really going to have to focus on their run in race 2 with 8 minutes to go here and them being a lap down at this stage.
Getting away from Konitska at the moment. 1.2 is the gap, so got a really good run down onto that back straight there. But, you know, again, Konitska maybe just close enough. Nice little battle here between Sinkovic and Katakazinas. And Katakazinas just shutting the door there a little bit. Though Dean, he's, you know, keeping an eye out here, though. Looks like he didn't get a share of the SRW livery in time.
No, he didn't. He didn't, unfortunately for him. But he will still be rocking and rolling. I know that Stephen did, because he put his file for his livery in our little chat. So his Shannon's livery out on track, of course, at this stage. And doesn't have to make an adjustment for the Shannon's logo on this car because it doesn't have the big turbo intake hanging off the left-hand side of car, which would be the right-hand side when we're looking dead at the front of it. But it is normally on the left-hand side, which then allows us to, since we don't have that turbo intake, to have this camera angle off the mirror. So we can keep an eye on cars in behind from the left-hand side now, not just the right.
Johnson here looking to try and make a move up the inside here.
Oh, he forced Sinker wide. He was a bit... he was lucky to get that done. He was so overzealous through that corner.
Tessuero and Johnson in the background there too, having a good battle as well. And Johnson holding up the inside. Tessuero trying to get a run there. That is a strange corner, that one, with the way the camber is. It's really easy to slip up out of it. And you can see here, again, driving really close together. Tessuero looking for a way through. Just a nice little bit of movement in the back of the car, like the guys are throwing the car in and it's sort of sliding and then sticking. That's a good sign.
That was a late change there from Jono. I heard the car hit rev limiter, and that's not going to help him anytime soon. Sinker's actually dropped below then, so I reckon he's had an off track here off the back of this.
That big moment, did he continue it on, not bring it back in? He's had a moment.
Yeah.
Going down onto the back straight.
Just had to try and keep it clean off the back.
He was close to clipping the wall there too, Stephen.
But Daniel Byrne leads the way at this stage in time. He has now spread the gap out back to Marcus Konitska in P2 to 1.5 seconds. So Byrne just looking to continue his run of dominance within the F1 Shadow Series. Konitska in behind him. He looks to pretty much lock out this P2 finish with that McLaren livery on his car at this stage. Gerard P3 on the road, P1 for the Pro-Ams. Dougie Gowan's in behind, P4 on the road, P3 for the pros. And then Sam Katakazinos makes up the top 5. And Dean Sinkovic, he's not going anywhere at the moment, Cowie. And currently he's slated to start P5 of the feature race. So this could be a strong run from him here across this whole round here tonight.
And have a look at the name in P10 at the moment. Daniel Preds, his return back to the F3 series. And looks like he's got a bit of a battle behind him. Tessuero, Johnson, Sinkovic, Rosanita, all back there. And they know that Bitsy's sitting in P10. So that's P1 for the next race. So big chunk of points to be had if you just find one more position. Tessuero, he's the first lined up. See if he can take the fight to Fritzy here with what? About 4 minutes to go.
And it's about 4 minutes. Katakazinos has now gotten up to P4 on the road, dropping Dougie Gowans down to P5 at this stage, although the gap is still pretty significant back to Sinkovic, so it may not be much of a challenge there for Gowie to lose, for Gowans to lose that top 5. Here comes Tessuero, though he wants around the outside of Fritz, can't quite get it done. But the battle could be on here up towards turn 1 here, Cowie, if he can maximise the run down through the final corner.
I don't know, was there maybe contact involved there? Gowans on the radio, I thought I heard then. Sinkovic has had a moment.
He has
It's just
indeed.
flashed
He's
up
dropping
and
spots.
pricey as well. So what's happened?
So here's Sinker coming down towards turn 1. Oh, he just over-rotated through the corner.
Yeah. So maybe
Oh,
tried to get it.
then did he go for the rejoin? Lucky not hitting
Cost
one
him
off
2
the back
spots.
of that.
No, that's all right. Just cost him a couple of spots as well. Pricey also had a bit of a moment. So what happened here?
Oh, he's
yeah, got a
rotated
bit
it
of
into
grass.
the wall. Yep.
Oh, and that's a broken car.
It is, and I'm sure he's requested the tow.
Yeah, no, he's been able to reverse it back up out of the way. And I wouldn't be surprised if race control's just giving him permission to tow there.
Which I believe they have, as he has towed back, so...
Yeah.
But Byrne leads the way.
Inside the final 5 minutes, they don't normally call a safety car. So, it's what it is. Byrne has a 1.7 second lead over Kanitska at the moment. Probably just dropped out of that tow now, though the gap's staying fairly level. The moment here, that's Tessuero and Fritzy. Did they have it coming together? Fritzy's missing a front wing. That was a battle on track. So, okay, so Tessuero got through and Fritzy's tagged him. So, Tessuero must have got him a couple of corners earlier. Unfortunately, Fritzy hitting him, that may result in a bit more pain if race control decides to have a look at that, Fritzy. So...
But final 1.5 minutes now of the race. We would assume that this might be the final lap, if not the second to last lap at this stage in time. Byrne currently has the fastest lap of the race. He's the only driver to get into the 149s. A 149.73 is his current best lap. But last lap, he lapped to 1:50.1. It was about 6/10 faster than P2 and Marcus Knitska, or 600ths faster, than Marcus Knitska in P2. So he is currently lapping and gaining on P2 on the road at this stage. So it may only be a couple more corners to go until Byrne is once again a winner here in the F1 Shadow Series.
Well, he's doing everything he needs to do. How is Gallo on his return at the moment? P19's the lap down. Bradley, both of those guys suffering big time. But it looks like they've been battling each other for the whole round. Oh no, Knitska, what's happened there? He's had a moment and then a second moment. Has he pushed too hard?
He's come through.
Oh, he's just ran a bit wide up on that curbing. And it's just slipped around, and then when he's tried to get going again, he's looped it again. So that's cost him...
We're going to go another lap, Cowie.
9 spots, another lap. Yep, there is the white flag.
He made it just before the 20 minutes were up. So one more lap to go here out at Suzuka. Unfortunate there for Knitska. That's now going to drop him down the order a little bit here.
He was down to P8, but Dean Sinkovic has just had a moment. He's on the radio as well, so we can see what happens.
Oh, he has too. I'm not sure who else was involved in that one. I believe Andrew Johnston possibly. Maybe Knitska had another little moment, but this was Jono's moment. It was coming up here. Oh, that's what it was. Oh, that is a wild crash.
That was Johnson and Sinkovic.
Yeah, it was.
That was violent.
Absolutely violent, Cowie. That was, I mean, that was almost as bad, if not worse, than the lap 1 incident with Gallen and De Bono. I think their one was only worse because of how many other cars were involved, but that one was definitely a wild ride there for Dean as Daniel Byrne, race leader, comes on through up towards the alternate start-finish line into the final sector of this track. Only a couple more corners to go before he claims victory here in race number 1. As it stands, it's Byrne to Gerard to Gowans. That's the top 3. Catacasino, Sheaf, Hudson, Knitska, Rossender, Johnson, and Steve Sinkovic make up the top 10. Steve Sinkovic could be on his way here to starting pole position for race number 2, Cowie. It'll be absolute scenes if that happens. But Byrne's going to come around the final corner He's going to take victory here for race number 1. And it's a perfect start for round number 4 of the series for him. Gerard's going to come home in P2, P1 for the Pro-Ams. Gowan's home in P3. Catacasino's home in P4. Sheafy is going to come round and finish P5 just ahead of Hutto here in P6. Konitska, off the back of an unfortunate spin, will at least come home P7. He'll start P4 of the next race. Rosanita will come home P1 for the amateurs, but P8 here on the road. Then it's Johnson, and then it is Steven Sinkovic out of absolutely nowhere, Cowie. Bradburying his way not only onto what I think may be his first class podium here in the Formula 3 series, but he'll also start pole position for the first time as well in these cars. So maybe the SF24 is more suited to Sinker than we may have initially thought.
Look, lots happening in that race. Only 3 pros inside the top 10. So you got 3 pros, 4 pro-ams, and 3 ams.
Yeah.
Right, so definitely a bit of chaos in race number 1. We saw what happened to Gallo and Price and Bradley, Johnson, De Bono. So there's at least 4 or 5 quick names. They're going to be starting at the back of this field. 40-minute race. It's a different beast, but already these guys are showing their commitment and how hard they're looking to push.
Should we do the sneaking and drag Sinker in just to ask him how he feels about starting P1 of the next race?
I can't stop you from doing that. I don't know if I really want to advocate it though. But again, there's a few of the boys up in the lounge having a good chat, so enjoying the nature of the car. It will be good to have a chat to the drivers of what they think of it and how it is to actually push it out there.
Well, we've got a little warm-up session. Perfect opportunity to quickly chat to Sinker. So we'll quickly drag him in. Since he likes to do it to other drivers, we're going to do it to him as well. Stephen, we thought we would do what you like to do to others and drag you in for a quick chat, because not only did you, I think, get your first ever podium in class for the F3s, but you're starting pole position for the first time in the next race.
Yeah. It's going to be
interesting. Too confident there.
No, it's going to be fine. I need to just work out the long left-hander. That long left-hander is the one that's I'm losing like 3/10 in the actual corner, and then I'm probably losing another 1/10 or 2 down the straight because I'm not getting that right. So that's where my frustration lies at the moment. Apart from that, I'm really happy around the S's and down the first corner, under the bridge I'm happy. It's just under there.
Just slow it up a little bit more, Stephen. Don't try to carry quite as much speed around it.
I think that's the problem I'm having, yeah.
Because the thing is, as you said, it's all about the straight afterwards. So,
yeah,
you want to try and maximise that. So if you've got to compromise that corner a little bit with your entry speed, that means, if you overslow it, then you're still going to have a great exit. And
well, that's the problem. I'm carrying it into 4th gear coming through it. And Mr. Johnson's just told me, he goes, drop it down to 3rd in the second part of the apex and then trample it down. So I'm going to try it now. Let's see how it goes. And tyres aren't really warm yet, but I'll tell you what, these things are a hell of a fun to drive.
Well, do you reckon these might be your bread and butter now? Now that you got that little bit more downforce under your bum, you're able just to keep control. But I mean, it's unfortunate that you're not going to be able to race next season and really take advantage of it.
I said the same thing to the boys. I said I'm taking the season off, and I'm really enjoying this car. It really suits me because it's pointy. I like my cars pointy, and then when they point in the rear end, I can rely on the rear end. It's a different story. Like a few of the spins that I've done, it's just me pushing the car that sort of extra bit just to see where the limit is in practice, and it feels good. I tell you what, you can get it down a little bit earlier, but these boys are still, like, I think quali's practice I was 1.5 behind the lead car, so that's not bad for me. Usually in practice I'll be like 3 to 4 tenths, so I'm quite happy with that. But how's the racing? Is it looking better? Is it the guys having fun out the front? You guys enjoying it?
The crashes are absolutely spectacular, Sinker. So we love a crash. They are spectacular. Yeah, it
fan
is.
of the damage model.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed some of those. I had the pack that I went through, and then there was the one where Pricey spun in front of me just before the last chicane. I don't know how I missed him. That was just like a pirouette right in front of me.
Yeah, I have no idea how you made it through. Unfortunate for Dean, he was off for a P1 in class.
Sorry,
but unfortunately,
I'm laughing because I just tapped the rear end of a Bathurst winner.
Took his rear bumper off then too.
I did. I just thought while I was on track with a 2-time Bathurst champion, I might as well take advantage of and give him a tap in the rear.
What class did he win in, Sinker?
He won I think it's the E class it was.
Oh yeah, so the slow Mazdas.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they did well. They did really well. I watched a bit of it, and the funny thing was they were the second car in the behind the safety car for a great period of time in the middle of the day. So their sponsor, 24 Hour Lasagna, got a great bit of TV time.
Well, I couldn't believe that that like old late 90s Camry was just out there all day. And I was like, surely it's just going to make it to the end. And I don't think it ever had a problem at all.
Mate, you're talking about a Toyota engine in a Camry, the most reliable engine ever manufactured.
It just chugged along all day. I think it finished top 35. And
what you got to remember is that Toyota engines have got a very strong history in partnership with Yamaha. And they build some of the best engines out there. So some of these really fast engines that Toyota has, like in the Lexus and stuff like that, they're a partnership with Yamaha. So they build some weapons, absolute weapons.
Oh mate, we'll let you go prepped for, or let you go get prepped for your first pole position start. Congratulations not only on your podium but also your top 10. Try not to stuff up the start, hey. Just
I did a pole position start on Monday night last week.
Okay.
And I did good for 3-4 laps, and then I spun it.
Okay. Well, try and do the same thing for us, because at least then we can talk about it for a bit. But,
well, the elbows are going to be out, mate. Don't worry. I'm going to be the cork in the bottle, mate. Just by the time the show's finished, you're going to be calling me champagne.
I was going to say, we'll start calling you Schultzy, shall we? And you just keep holding the boys back. But best of luck, mate, and hopefully you can last a little while out there.
All right. Have fun, gents.
Thanks, mate. Oh, okay, we'll run through our starting grid here for race number 2. They will start how they finished in the last one, except the top 10 has been reversed. Steven Sinkovich will start pole position here tonight. I never thought I'd say that, Cowie, on a Formula 3 broadcast, I must say. Greg Johnson will start alongside on the front row of the grid with Callum Rosanita and Marcus Knitska making up the second row in behind. Brad Hudson and Tyler Sheaf will start in behind them on the third row. I know Sheaf, he was happy with his top 5. He put a big chat in for us there with about a million O's on the end of go for us. Sam Katakazinas starting along behind them with Dougie Gowans alongside him in P8 on the road. Matty Gerard and Daniel Byrne will then make up the top 10 with Tessuero and Wakefield just missing out on that top 10 start here for the second race, but they're going to have a good opportunity to get into it here across the 40 minutes for our feature. We then move down to Daniel Fritz, Martin Walker, Dean Singovich, Andrew Johnston, Greg Bradley, Ryan Price, David Gallo and Dylan DeBono will make up the rest of the field. Greg Barber, Thomas Freeman, our race controllers, of course. Big thank you to them. They had a little bit of work to do there in the first race, Cowie. Hopefully for their sake, it's not as chaotic. But for our sake, well, we love a bit of chaos, don't we?
Oh, look, it's exactly what you want to see on a Wednesday night. The guys, they're going for it. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things. It's a new car, new vision, so it might look a bit different. You know, when you're sitting in it, we all think that these Formula cars are the same to drive, but you know, again, it's just a little bit more downforce, a little bit maybe less power. So different nuances, and it's a whole new car to get used to. So still seeing these guys finding their feet.
Well, let us know, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat what you thought of race number 1, what you think of these cars and this car and track combo. I think it's a great way to really introduce these cars to us for the first time, Cowie. You know, no rain as of yet. It's still looking like clear skies at this stage. But, you know, maybe there'll be a little sprinkle towards the latter half of the race and throw a little bit of chaos into it for us, of when drivers will change tyres, or maybe the sky will save it for Fuji in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have to wait and see. But Only a couple, about 20 odd seconds left now until the lights will go up, and we'll get ready to go racing for the second time here tonight with Steven Singovich on the front row of the grid for Team SRW Motorsports.
Well, I think what's happened is all week the guys have been practicing and saying it's ended up with rain in their practice sessions, and then you get to the race and there's no rain. That sounds about what it should be like here, doesn't it? Exact opposite of what you're going to practice all week.
Well, that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles the majority of the time with sim racing, isn't it? Daniel Fritz, Dean Singovich have not made the starting grid here tonight. Lights are up, though. Let's get ready to go racing for the second time in the SF24 here in the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals. It's a good start for the majority of the field once again. Cowie nice and smooth off the line. No wheel spin as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time, with Sinker leading the way to Rosanita and Johnston through 1.
I think they might have been a couple of pit lane starts for a couple of drivers there that didn't make the grid. But at the moment, Sinkovich, Johnson going through with a bold manoeuvre there, but Sinkovich trying to hot up the inside. Too wide, but see how much that compromised his speed trying to fight that. It is one of the things about Suzuka here, especially through the S's. You know, they're pretty much single file. If you try to force the issue, it's only going to hurt yourself. But at the moment, Kanitska having a little bit of a peekaboo there on Rosanita. But at the moment, it's fairly even through the field. Katakazina's up 2, Gowan's up 1, and a Burner up 1, I think, at the moment. Oh, look in.
You can see there, Sinker said he wanted to be the cork in the bottle. Well, he's doing a very good job of it at this stage in time, trying to hold back the likes of Kanitska and Rosanita in behind him. Rosanita, though, wants it up the inside on the grass. Couldn't quite get it done. Oh, it was
open up the inside. Rosanita there. Who's that also?
That's
is that
Katakzinos
in the mix?
And Kanitska as well. So we got a good little battle on our hands here, Cowie, as everyone starts to settle in. You were right. It was a pit lane start for the likes of Daniel Fritz and Dean Sinkovich at this stage in time. I don't believe Dylan DeBono, he made the start, but he's not running. That's another big contact, though, through that corner.
Sinkovich caught up in that. Rosanita also. Katakazinos losing his rear wing. On the radio already, those guys. Everyone's continued to get going, so it's not going to be a safety car. But already these guys are going to need to come in and maybe get their car fixed. And see there, Rosanita doing a big cross country that may well give him an iRacing penalty.
Just the overlap there with Katakazino, it was Katakazinos there.
I think he hit that inside curb, Katakazinos, and the car bounced out, and Rosanita wasn't expecting a car to come out there. So unfortunately, and I think you might find he's going to get a 40-second probably hold. Oh, look, it's close.
No, the contact was already made, and it was at the point of turning, so it was Sinker's corner. Unfortunately, Katakazinos wasn't up far enough, and that could be a penalty coming his way by the likes of Race Control, but it is up to them at the end of the day. But that's massive damage on the Velocity SimLabs car. He might be getting ready for the Formula V series next season, by the look of that thing, but I'll have to wait and see. But it is now Kanitska who leads the way back to Johnston and then back to Gowans in P3. But Byrne is a fast approaching here on the back of Sheafy as he come up towards the long left-hander, and he might want it up the inside here, Cowie.
Yeah, he decided to get out of it. Probably a good thing there. Wasn't sure how Sheepy was going to handle that. But see here, he's maximising the exit for this run. This is where it's all important.
On board with him now. He wants it up the outside. Needs to be careful here through this run. Is Sheepy going to let him have it?
I'd say Sheepy's holding into it nicely there, but plenty of room given from both the boys. Burke can stay up the inside. He will have onus of the corner. Little half look there from Hudson in the back there, or thought he might be able to sneak his nose up as well, but it almost got chopped off. But you can see there, look at that compromising run. So that was, is that Gallo back there got a bit of a compromised run, and he's got Gerard right on his back. So at the moment, Tesuero and Gerard, they're up a couple of spots, having started outside the top 10. But Gallo up 12 at the moment, so taking a big advantage of the start there and getting as many positions as he could in that first lap.
Yeah, it's been lucky there for Gallo. He's now back up inside the 10. And this could be a promising run for him here tonight, Cowie, in this second race. Of course, 36 minutes on the clock. It'll be about 35 when they come up towards the end of the straight. Maybe even just past the next corner, but about 35 minutes left of proceedings. Or a little bit of blinking there ahead, but believed by Sheafy. So needs to be careful of that. Oh, a bit of a lock though.
Oh, check there, yeah. You see Hutto was trying to get a nice little slick shot run, and that's one of those places where you can do a little block pass, but Sheafy maybe went a little bit deep and then had to pull it up a lot before he could get it going again. And that sort of, was able to stop Hutto from getting a run on him.
So you're looking off the back of Sheafy's car. He's got Hutto all of the back of him. That was a car off in the background, I believe. Possibly that was Andrew Johnston who ran it wide, if not Matt Tessierero. So they were lucky not to hit the wall, but they are still within the battle at this stage in time. But Byrne leads this little train. He's now gotten past Dougie Gowans, and all of a sudden he's back onto the podium and hunting down the amateur leader in Greg Johnston in P2 at the moment. Sheafy, those run it wide off the exit of the chicane, and he's now going to drop down outside the 10.
It's going to drop him right down to the bottom, unfortunately. But what's happened here is it just the tank slap? Oh, it's just the curb, the bounce of the curb. Yeah, just that second little bounce that cost him, and then unfortunately got to wait for everyone to go through. But he's done the right thing.
He did. It was good to see, but he now sits back in P15 on the road as Martin Walker also runs it wide, so he's now going to drop a couple of spots there to Steven Singovich and Tyler Sheaf. Although, to be fair, if Sinker can keep this clean now for the rest of proceedings, he could find himself back inside the top 10, where Ryan Price is, where his brother Dean is as well, and then even Fritzy now back in P12. So he could find some spots with a little bit of chaos up ahead of him.
It's unfortunate though. I mean, battling right up in the front there, the cork in the bottle. Unfortunately, didn't want to get popped like it did. But Fritzy here, he had a pit lane start along with Dean Sinkovich in front of him, so these two looking for a bit of redemption in race number 2. At the moment, Dean's up 4 and Daniel's up 1, so at the moment he's sort of been stuck here a little bit, Fritzy. But showing some good speed in the car. Oh, look at that, dancing on the edge of grip. Sinkovich there, I thought he was going to lose the rear there for a moment, but managed to catch on to it. And now getting that toe from Ryan Price. You see how big the toe he is. Look at this, closing right up. He's getting sucked up to the back of the car now.
It is so overpowered, is the toe. And, you know, with more downforce on these cars, it really helps that toe become more effective. And again, should lead to us having some good battles of swapping and changing positions. Gallo's now getting past Hudson here down the straight to go back into the top 5. Can he get it done? He does indeed. So he is P4 on the road for the pros, but Hutto's not going to give this up easily. So they come on through the sweeping S's here out at Suzuka past the big, I can't remember what the word is now. Not cartwheel, Ferris wheel, past the big Ferris wheel here in the first section of the track. You can see it in the background there. But Gowan's up ahead of them. He's now all over the back of Greg Johnson, who's dropped out of P2 as Daniel Byrne has now gotten past him. But now it's Dougie's going to try and put an assault on Mr. Johnson here for P3 on the road to get back up onto the podium. There's a little bit of a lock break there from Johnson into that corner. Could this mean a good run from Gowans down towards the next? He wants this to line this up for the inside run of the next corner. He wants to try and get it done under brakes. Let's see if we can get it done here, Cowie.
It's just a bit back there, so he now needs to focus the exit of this corner here. And you can see there.
Wide, though.
Yep, got a little bit of a slide, Jono. It just went in a little bit too hot, and that's what we were talking to Stephen about in the break. It's more important to get a good run on the straight. If you give up a little bit of speed on entry, so be it. You really want to make sure you're nailing that exit every lap.
You can see as well, Jono's running a little bit wide again. Gallo's now going to get past him. Is he going to let Hutto past him as well? down the straight, although he's still got P1 wrapped up. Oh, a little bit of a defence there. Brings in the lane, so maybe he's overcooked it a little bit now. Wants to get some fresh rubber on the car, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but Hutto leads the way here
car
for the front end.
67 has a drive-through penalty.
That is
So,
Steven
no,
Sinovich.
Yeah.
That's
No, that was Sam. Sorry, no, I apologise, not that. It was Sam Catacasinos who got a black flag. It was Kevin Wakefield as well. And unfortunately, we lost Dylan DeBono with a packet loss, so his internet playing up, unfortunately.
Maybe that's an answer as to why the incident happened with Gallo. Maybe he had a little bit of a blink and he didn't really know where Gallo was, and then maybe that led to that incident happening in race 1. Who knows?
I thought he was sweeping around the outside trying to come back in, and you're off the track at that point. So I think it might have been a little bit of an ambitious move from DeBono. We certainly know, you know, he's got a lot of talent, and well, if he sees a gap, he'll send it. So it might have been one of those situations. And you know, of course, yeah, if there's any blinking involved, well, that might have made it even worse. But at the moment, Gallo is now up into P4. He's got that gap to Gowans in front of him down to inside a second. Kanitska has a 3.4 gap over Byrne in P2. It's a further 2.5 seconds back to Gowans in third, and then a further second back to Gallo in fourth. So, you know, it is only early days of this race. 11 minutes into our 40-minute race here. But, you know, sort of Gowans is about 5.5 seconds off the lead. Gallo 6.5. It's, you know, still got time to catch that up, I suppose. Same with Hutto and Johnson here, which are about 9 seconds off the pace.
There's not too much between them at this stage, Cowie. They are battling it out hard. Hutto wants it up the inside. Can't quite get it done here on Andrew Johnson. You can just see him peeking in the background, of course, off our little halo cam here on the SF24. Of course, that's one of the big new features is the halo, and drivers kind of deciding whether they want to run the little T-bar of the halo or not run it. If you were racing at Cowie, do you reckon you'd just stick with the halo on or turn it off for yourself?
I would probably turn it off because, I mean, you know, if you're a VR, I'd leave it on because that would give you that perception. I mean, the concept, the reason why the halo's thin is there to most of the drivers in real life. You know, you're able to focus past them. It's like if, you know, you put your finger up in between your two eyes where it's sort of out of focus and you can see through it. It's very much like that. Now, in a triple screen setup that I've got, and it just ends up being an inch wide, you know, beam in the middle that you can't see through. So, you know, I would hide it myself.
Yeah, I suppose I mean, you can kind of tell it's there at this point in time, and it does really cover up a lot of your sight, I guess, but
see, in a three-dimensional frame, you would be seeing past it,
yeah,
right? So it would, you know, again, like if you put your finger up between your eyes and you can see through your finger, you can see it, but you can see directly through it because your gaze is actually past it. It's called parallax.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reason that we've got depth perception. But, you know, when you're rendering that in a 2D image on a triple screen setup, all it ends up being is an inch wide black thing in the middle. You know, you can't see past it. So I think for myself, I would shadow it out. I know, let us know out there in the chat what you guys do. At the moment, you know, Hamish has got it set up with the halo on. So that's what it looks like no matter what driver we jump on board with.
Well, I've got it set up like that because then it is, whenever we cut to a cockpit cam, it is more, you know, realistic.
Yep.
I drive with the halo on, personally. I don't know, it's just my personal preference to have it on. Maybe I need to try with it off. Maybe I'll actually find some lap time in this car, who knows. Although I wasn't off the pace too bad in the one official I've done in this car. Unfortunately, got taken out by P1 when they proved they only had one lap pace and actually didn't have any racecraft, and they went off the track and then decided to pull out in front of traffic. So, although these things happen, don't they, Cowie? It's just one of the things about racing.
Oh, that's right. You know, if you put yourself in the mix, occasionally you're going to make a mistake or be around someone else that makes one. So these things happen. as far as the halo goes, I know when they first introduced it into Formula 1, they were asking the drivers about how it affects the visibility. And they said like, they don't really notice it. You know, once you're in the zone, you don't notice it because, again, your gaze is past it. You know, you're not focused on the thing that's a foot in front of you.
And
these guys are, you know, looking half a kilometre up the road
Well,
at the
that's
apex
right.
of the next corner.
And you're not always just looking, if we go back to the cockpit cameras for a second, you're not always just deadpan looking straight ahead either when you're in the car. You're looking left or you're looking right. You're forever changing your gaze. So it's not always right in front of you, which is why you can actually kind of change your perception of it as well. I do prefer the look of this halo compared to the IndyCar halo, which is basically just a windscreen. But I do understand why they went for a windscreen opposed to the open halo. It doesn't look bad. I just think this one blends in a lot more nicely than the full cockpit style of windscreen that they've now implemented into IndyCar as well. Greg Johnson's had an incident. Unfortunately, this is now dropping him back down the order. We know he had the incident earlier on, and this is only going to make his day worse. He's coming up on the back of Walker here. Wanted it up the inside. Oh, it was a full send and just couldn't pull it up in time. We almost had a cross center moment at that corner, but wasn't meant to be.
Walker did a good job. Yeah, Walker did a good job there too as well. He knew he was making a move, but sometimes, you know, that's where you can set up that sort of over-under. Someone goes in, you know they're going to go in too hard, then just hold out wide, wait for him to go past you, then turn, switch underneath them.
So
having a look at Konitska at the moment, he's keeping it together now, though that gap is down to 3.1 seconds. So Byrne is making up a little bit of time here as we go on. I think Gowans has fallen back a little bit, and at the moment Gallo unable to do anything about passing Gowans. So I think we're seeing a little bit of what you see in the real life racing, that, you know, the tow is great, it'll bring the cars together, but in the windier sections, it's aero wash affecting the car behind. So, you know, being in that tow can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, you know, multiple times around this lap.
I think being a modern car, though, as well, we know that the modern F1 cars can battle a lot better once they're up close to the car ahead of them. But again, the aero wash is still so strong, being that these are more aero dependent than the previous generation. But it is still, I don't know, it's still going to give us some good racing. I think we've seen some great battles so far, but also maybe some big mistakes happening. And I think that just comes with learning the car and then learning the car track combo and getting used to this car as well. It does feel different to the old F3, as Martin Walker has had a crash in the background. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. The kind of, again, the nuances of these cars. He's had a big slide through there.
Big moment from Walker, snap of the rear. So, I mean, I get the feeling that, you know, still like the F3s, these cars, it's about trying to find that sort of grip limit. And it seems that, you know, the rears used to carry a little bit too much speed. I think that might have been curb related there, or he got on a little bit too hard. Again, you know, you got to think of the tyre as, you know, having 100% grip. Now, the moment you are focusing on slowing the car down, you can use 100% of that tyre's grip to slow down. But if you want to accelerate, you know, if you're in a straight line, you can use 100% of the tyre's grip to accelerate. But when you're turning, you've got to use a certain amount of percentage of the tyre's grip to maintain that turn. And that means that if you get on the accelerator a little bit too hard, then you're overusing the tyre, and that's when it starts to slide and you'd lose grip.
You know what I think it is, Cowie? I reckon this car promotes confidence, right? It provides you with the confidence to drive it. But I think with that naturally comes a little bit of overconfidence when trying to find the grip limit. Gerard and Fritz have now come into the pits, 18 minutes 50 into the session. I would have thought they maybe would have tried to stretch it out to halfway through for their pit stop, but it's an interesting strategy nonetheless. But yeah, I think
maybe.
I think this car, as mentioned, promotes that confidence.
We want to have a look and see if they're taking tyres. Maybe when we see the next lot of cars
Oh,
coming in.
they're already coming out. So
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have to have a look when the next lot of cars come in. See if we maybe follow a car into the pits and see if his tyres disappear. Because at the moment, the pit times range between 5 and 9 seconds. Transit time varies a little bit.
I reckon Dean took tyres. I reckon he took tyres.
That's what I'm trying to work out, whether tyres, are costing extra time or not. So we'll have to keep an eye on maybe one of the front runners when they come in. This is Kevin Wakefield, but he's running near the back, so I would not be surprised if Kevin takes tyres. No, he hasn't there, I don't think.
But they don't necessarily disappear either when you do take them. He's had a 9-second stop, so I reckon he's taken tyres and just done his fuel. Because it is about 9 seconds for tyres in these cars. So,
well, I don't know that yet myself, so I've got to take your word for it on that.
Well,
buddy,
I'm kind of going off the back of how long is it for a supercar? It's about 9 seconds, isn't it?
Supercar is, it's about 8 seconds for tyres, but you need about 17 litres to cover the tyres.
Yeah.
As far as fuel goes. But, the difference being, with the supercar, fresh tyres are always an advantage, even if they're cold. These cars, the old F3s, it took a lap and a half to 2 laps to get them up to temp. So, the car's jacked up. Maybe that, when it's jacked up, it means you're taking tyres?
No, cars are always jacked up no matter if you're taking tyres or not.
Okay.
Because you get jacked up when you're just taking fuel as well. But Jono's come out and he's done a
second stop.
Yeah, 7 to 8 second stop. Oh, he's just come out there next to Sinker. Very lucky not to have contact. Dean's come in and taken a 7.8 second stop. So I reckon they've gone without tyres on that stop, Carrie. I reckon the 9 second stops are the ones that have actually taken tyres.
I'm not sure. So it's a bit hard to go off there's a Bradley stop there that was like 4 seconds, but that could have been right at the start of the race just for the fast repair.
Yeah.
So So we're probably going to have to talk to the drivers and see, what they did. A little bit blind for us going into this season, but then you see there the car did not get raised up from gallons.
For Walker.
Oh, for Walker, it stayed on the ground then.
Did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
Interesting. We've got Gallo, though. He wants it up the inside of Gowans. Can he get it done towards the final couple of corners? We're getting into pit stop territory now, so we'll see when these drivers decide to bring it in. When they want to take that pit stop in this race. We're now past the halfway point, Cowie, so big thank you goes out, obviously, to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, Motorsports Australia, as well as our other sponsors, Grim Industry, Shunt Scenery, DSL Rail Services, and NeuroPower. Thank you for supporting the series, and thank you to everyone at home or wherever you may be watching from for taking the time out of your day, your night, your evening, whenever it is, to join us here tonight for the Formula One Shadow Series here and the first showing of the SF24.
Something happened to Rosanita out there? No. He has pitted, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Rotated in the rear.
Yeah.
So perhaps taking tyres and just a little cold still. Interesting. I mean, there's a few things to talk to the drivers tonight about the new car and how it gone. The first race under the belt here at SRW. At the moment, it is Knitska, Byrne, Gowans, Gallo, and Hudson and Price are our top 6. All 6 of them yet to have pitted. So, again, maybe a place that if the undercard is a possible option, perhaps Suzuka, one of those trucks that it's better to run long.
Yeah, I think with it being over, obviously, that 1 minute 30 or up towards a 2 minute lap time, especially with such a short lane travel of about 30 seconds, it's not really a track that lends itself well to the undercut, but both Knitska and Byrne are now in.
Let's see if the car races up in the air or if he stays on the deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, Burns a pretty good one to go off of if he's going to take tyres or not. If it goes up, then we're still in confusion. But if it doesn't, then we know it's not confusing. It's not gone up. So that will explain it then. So the F3...
and what was that stop from Burn? That was like a 5.3 seconds.
Yeah,
so, all right,
5.3.
so we're maybe talking anything from 2 to 4 seconds extra for tyres, perhaps?
Yeah, and what I think it comes down to, Carrick, so obviously the supercar goes up if you're taking tyres or not, because that car has the air jacks under it. I think these cars only go up whenever they take tyres, because it's a bit similar like real life, where they only put it up when they're fixing damage or when they're doing tyres, where if they had refueling rules, they likely wouldn't actually go up on the jacks.
Well, are they refueling these cars? I think they are.
Mid-race, I don't believe so. I know the F1 cars, they don't.
But these F3s or the super lights here, I'd say that they're taking fuel. Because otherwise then, you know, if you're not going to take tyres, there'd be no need to stop at all. Unless there's a compulsory stop, and I haven't seen anything about a compulsory stop.
Let's have a look.
So
we'll have a bit of a Google while we chat about this.
Well, at the moment, the gap on track is 1 second now from Konitska back to Burn, so he's been steadily sort of bringing him in, you know, a few tenths here per lap, but it is in the pits that he made the biggest move, ended up gathering a second there in the pit stop. But I don't think Konitska, he had a 5.88 stop as well, so maybe he didn't take tyres there either. So we're thinking maybe it was Andrew Johnson took tyres, perhaps Matt Teixeira, yeah, maybe took tyres, perhaps Greg Johnson behind him, other guys that were 7, 8, 9 seconds, Steve Sinkovich, Sam Katakazinas, and Kevin Wakefield, all others with those 5-second stops maybe didn't take tyres.
So, just to confirm, refueling does not happen in any form of formula-derived races. So it is a blanket rule across all formula types that there's no mid-race refueling.
Would that apply in iRacing though?
Well, obviously in iRacing we can mid-race refuel, but it's because it's a series rule. So it's and it's a safety thing is why they took it away.
Oh,
personally,
well,
I'd love if Formula One had refueling. It would change the strategy so much.
Well, I was watching when they were. I was watching a historic Formula One thing the other day, actually on YouTube. Disregard it, and they were talking about, you know, actually Jos Verstappen's car. I think it was his Williams at the time, where they had removed one of the fuel filters. So technically you could do this within the rules, but what it actually did is it, you know, sped up the fuel flow rate by some ridiculous amount. And I remember, I think it was Senna complaining that they, was it Senna complaining? I might have been.
I doubt it would have been Senna.
It was Schumacher. That was Schumacher. It was when he was driving for Benetton with Schumacher. That's right.
Yeah.
And it was Williams were complaining that they were lapping faster and catching, you know, Schumacher, and then he was coming out of the pits and gaining an advantage of like 4 or 5 seconds. And, you know, eventually there was that, I think it was second race or third race in with the new car regulations, and then Jos Verstappen had that big fire, and that's when, following that big massive fire and the removal of the fuel filter and all this sort of stuff, that's when they, you know, basically decided by the end of that year we're just going to take refueling out of the equation. Just too dangerous.
Oh, no, because I remember they had refueling up until about, I think it was 2009, 2010. So they still had it, but I think they may have restricted if you could have a filter or not.
Well, yeah, they took it away following that incident for the next year, but it maybe came back again. It's sort of been an on again and off again thing for Formula One. I mean, again, I suppose the biggest detriment is just the size of the cars.
Well, that's
I reckon
right.
we need to get back to, you know, small, nimble machines, not these big boats with lots of aero and that, which effectively what they are at the moment.
Well, my favourite era of, or favourite looking era of Formula One was 07, 08, when they had heaps of aero on them, but they were like super tiny F1 cars. Just really like trying to find any advantage they could, like any aero advantage. A lot of people thought the cars looked ugly. I loved it because I thought you could just see so much of the car, and for some reason it looked less simple. It was a lot more technologically advanced, and I don't know, just visually I just love that era of car.
I'm sorry. You gotta go back to the V12s and the McLarens and just the 6-speed H-pattern gearboxes where they're taking a hand off the wheel and they're doing 200 mile an hour, through bloody going down through Spa, flying down through Radion and Eau Rouge, with one hand on the wheel because they're shifting gears like that. That stuff's crazy. Or even watching the onboard of Senna's Monaco lap, ridiculous. And then I remember, I think it was Top Gear did a doco, a tribute to Senna's McLaren and that, and got out Lewis Hamilton to take it out for a drive. And after driving it around, he come back and he said, look, I just can't fathom what it would be like to drive this on the edge, right on the edge of grip.
Yeah.
It changes, but those cars sounded amazing. They were tiny little whippets.
Oh, they did. I'm not denying that.
It's just got a bit big. Look, we've gone through all of this, hybrid era now, and these engines in the Formula One cars are the most fuel efficient machines on the planet. Like, we've got them to the stage where you could almost run them on an oily rag.
Yeah.
With all of the hybrid technology.
Yeah.
But, I'd love to see them chop the car in half and make it, like, not necessarily chop it in half, but if you could draw a box around it and maybe put the wheels inside the body and reduce it that way, get the car, take a metre off every corner.
Well, don't get me wrong, I love the profile of how they sit. As we can see, Byrne here, he wants to lead on Konietzka down towards the final couple of corners. He gets it done, and Byrne is on his way to taking out not only the round win, but Konietzka's going to fight it back.
Well, you can see they're going in deep, and it's a great play, but you've got to get that block pass done. If you can't get the block pass, then the guy behind has got a much better exit. We saw there Konietzka able to immediately get it back as Byrne's run was a bit compromised.
So this is now going to give us a nice little tasty battle here for the final 8 minutes of this race. No safety car just yet, Cowie, in race number 2, which has been good to see. But yeah, going back to my statement before, just quickly, I'm not saying that I preferred the racing of 07 and 08, although 07 was very, very spicy in terms of that championship, but the looks of those cars, I don't know what it is about them. I love the looks of the 07, 08. Even 06 as well. They're such a good-looking car. I think the period of like 04 up to about 2010 was a great period for Formula One in terms of the on-track battling and stuff like that. It was fantastic.
Look, the cars look pretty. They do look pretty spectacular from a distance. The problem is when you get up and have a close look at them, you're like, geez, that's a big thing. What we need is Formula One cars, with mini chassis, or they're tiny little whippet things with the most power on the planet, We want to see power to weight ratios. These things here, they have that power to weight ratio, but that's because, it's like NASA. So, NASA will send something into orbit, and if you can make it small but heavy, or big and light, they'll go big and light every time because it's just of how much it costs per pound or of weight to get something into orbit. And it seems the same things happen with F1 cars. They've sort of they've stayed light and all that, but what they've done is they've spread it out over a bigger body.
You can see now Cowie, Byrne and Konietzka, these guys battling it out tooth and nail for the lead of this race. Byrne wanted it done at the final couple of corners, wasn't quite close enough, and Konietzka was just able to defend it off. So could be on here for Young and Hold, hell for leather towards the end of this race. Could be a nice little battle for us here to keep an eye on.
I think in our chat too, we missed that Gallo had got round to Gowans as well. So both of the Carlins Motorsports boys on the prowl at the moment. That sounded so much better when they were still with Kittens Racing, didn't it? But we might have to just find some other analogies, maybe wrenching their way through the field. But at the moment, Gallo's sort of still about 6 seconds back, so that battle with Gowans has, cost him enough time. He's been unable to put it through. Whereas now, Byrne is putting the heat right on Konietzko. This is where he wants to do it, so he forced Konietzko to maybe go a little bit inside. But here it's all about the run onto the back straight. Maximise this run, get on the gas, use that toe, and try and get up the inside for the big hairpin at the end.
You see here, Byrne wants it.
Well, that's how quick, but that's how effective the toe is. He's able to get up alongside before the kink. And now that means Konietzko holding that speed around the outside and putting the car in a perfect spot to, hold that position. So it's interesting. The toe is maybe too good and getting you up on the inside. Maybe you want to just try and stay around the outside so you can get up on the outside at the kink. And therefore you're on the inside for the next section.
You can see here, Byrne now has the lead into one. Konietzko's not going to give it up, but unfortunately, Daniel Byrne was just able to carry a little bit more speed there through 1 and 2. He now takes back the lead of this race and could be only 4 minutes away from a lockout of victories here in round number 4 of the Formula One Shadow Series. He won the first race, and as mentioned, he's only 4 minutes away, Cowie, from taking a second win here tonight. Although if Konietzko's going to have anything to say about it, he's going to want to try and challenge that win as best he can.
Yeah, look, Byrne was applying a lot of pressure to Konietzko there, and now already he's sort of got that gap out to about half a second. So to see if the toe is as effective as we hope it is, Konietzko staying close, but has he got something left in it? We are inside the final 4 minutes, maybe 3 laps to go, I would say, the way it's going to fall.
Possibly, maybe only 2 laps when they cross the line. We'll have to wait and see. Got a little bit of lap traffic now ahead of them. I believe it's Martin Walker just up the road from them.
To get out of the way going down the straight. Mark's just going to pull that over, I think. Maybe after the kink.
Quite possibly, maybe even down the main straight of the course. They seem to have about a couple of car lengths between them, but Konietzko's now dropped right off the back of him.
Well, he's still got a little bit of a gap. Yeah, Konietzko falling a couple of tenths back, but again, through that windy section, you can lose a bit of time. It's here that he'll start to make it back up again. But Byrne trying to get a little bit of a toe there off the back marker, Martin Walker, at the same time. But see what happened, Konietzko got a great run through there, and already that gap has come in by about 3 or 4 tenths, but not quite enough for him to be able to make a move.
Well, it's not looking like, Cowie, we're going to get any rain in this race. A little bit kind of disappointing. Obviously, we were hoping for a little bit of rain, but I think we're more than likely going to get some this season, not only for the F1 Shadow Series, but also for Season 2 of the Formula 3 Nationals as well going forward.
I think the drivers are probably happy that there is no rain tonight. They can just focus on getting used to driving these cars in race conditions. Obviously, when we do have that race where rain becomes a factor, that's when you're going to be starting to ask all those questions. Can you stay out on slicks? How long before you need to come in and change those wets? When do they start to lose grip? How long do they last when the track's drying out? Well, hopefully they're all questions we're going to get to answer, in the upcoming season. Maybe not tonight, Hamish, like you were hoping.
Well, I think next time out at Fuji will be as good a time as any to get some. I hope it would be chaotic, but I hope we don't get it when we go to some street circuits next season, with the likes of Long Beach and Belle Isle on the calendar. So hopefully we don't have any there, because we know how chaotic both Belle Isle and Long Beach can be. Maybe we can save it for Indy. Maybe that'll be a good opportunity for rain. But
rain at one of those tracks, and your prediction at the start of the race, they have any safety cars, and maybe we might get into double figures.
Mate, you don't even have enough pieces of paper to write it down in a regular book. But final lap of the race should be white flag.
Barney's waving it there in behind the pillar. You can barely see him hiding away, but there's 1 lap to go. Byrne has already kept that gap out to over half a second. Knitska's doing his best to try and stay as close as he can, but he's only got this lap left to do it. And Byrne at the moment, well, he's shown that he's got pace in the new car. Winner of race number 1 and currently leading race number 2 with only about half a lap to go.
Yeah, he's been absolutely so strong here tonight, Cowie. Has Daniel Byrne. One question I have got for you here, obviously we mentioned Barney. I saw a post on April Fool's Day from iRacing. Who is Fred? Is he the safety car driver?
Don't know, but I do know that
maybe
every
the blimp driver.
Well, I do know that every single track, hidden somewhere around the track, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. with one of the CEO, I think, of iRacing, and they basically put their images on every track. I know at Phillip Island they're actually on a catamaran out in the water.
Oh, really?
I think it is. Yeah, right. So, but you know, if you really want, you can hunt around and try and find them on each of the tracks, because apparently, you know, the developers have got rather tricky in some of the places that they've hidden the two.
I reckon Daytona, they've surely got to be in the crowd.
Well, I'm sure you could probably Google it and find out where they are around the track, but it's in some of the strange places. I'm not sure if there's any tracks left where people haven't found them, but I know for a while that the Phillip Island one was one that took quite a while to get noticed. But it is Daniel Byrne who brings it home ahead of Marcus Knitska, who had great drive from Marcus, close but no cigar, but still getting on the podium. And David Gallo, well, after the horror of race number 1 and starting near the back of the grid, he's finished up 16 spots to finish P3, so that's a pretty good drive in the feature there for David Gallo.
Dougie Gowans comes home P4, and then Andrew Johnson will come home P1 for the Pro-Ams, although these 2 races will be his final outing as a Pro-Am before moving up to the Pros. But he'll come home P5 on the road. Kobe Jordan with an exceptional comment. Rumour has it is Mick Doohan's boat.
Oh, there you go, cool.
And then it's Daniel Fritz on return to the series. He comes home P6, P2 in the Pro-Ams. Matty Gerard comes home P3 for the Pro-Ams, P7 on the road. Then it's Brad Hudson in behind in P8. Greg Bradley comes home P9. And then Ryan Price on debut into the series in the amateurs will come home P1 for the AMs, P10 on the road here tonight. So we'll be having a chat to Mr. Byrne, Mr. Knitska, Mr. Gallo, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Price at the end of this one here. But there's some good racing here tonight, Cowie. A little bit of chaos in race number 1, but you know, maybe we could see a little bit more out at Fuji in 2 weeks' time on the 17th.
Well, look, one of the great things about this series to come will be the fact that, you know, we don't need to worry about, you know, the possibility of carnage. We know that there is going to be carnage when the weather gets involved. So, you know, it's just a matter of when, not if.
No, that's right. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will bring up our provisional race results here for our feature race here tonight. Sorry. Got a big cough going on. Daniel Byrne will come home P1 on the road. 2 wins out of 2 for him here tonight. Ahead of Marcus Knitska out of P2 with David Gallo coming home in P3. Dougie Gowans will then come home in P4 with Andrew Johnson making up the top 5. Back to Daniel Fritz. Matty Gerard, Brad Hudson, Greg Bradley and Ryan Price making up the top 10. Tyler Sheaf after an exceptional race in race 1 coming home inside the top 5. Will come home P11 here in race number 2 with Dean Sinkovich in beside him for P12. Sam Catacasino, Steven Sinkovich and Matt Tessiera will then make up the top 15. Back to Callum Rosanita, Kevin Wakefield, Greg Johnson and Marco Walker will be our finishers. Dylan DeBono unfortunately not finishing this race here tonight. For our AMs, it'll be Ryan Price to Dean and Steven Sinkovich. So a double Sinkovich podium in race number 2, Cowie. Unseen before. absolute limbs off the back of that one. Matt Tesuero, Callum Rosanita, Kevin Wakefield and Greg Johnson will make up the rest of the AMs. For our Pro-Ams out there on track, it'll be Johnson to Fritz to Gerard, then Hudson, Sheaf, Katagazinos and Walker will make up the rest of that little field. And then for our pros, it was Byrne to Kanitska to Gallo to Gowans to Bradley. De Bono not getting to the end of either race here tonight, unfortunately for him.
Some good racing out there tonight. I think, interesting. It will be interesting to have a chat to the drivers and get their thoughts on the car because, in the end, the F3 was a much beloved car. Do they have the same sort of feelings in their stomach with regards to this machine?
We'll have to wait and see. We will force Pricey to come and have a chat to us since he was on the podium. We'll drag him down since he won the AMs.
That one,
Pricey, we've just stolen you away from the chat, mate, just because you finished P1 in the AMs. We thought we'd drag you down, have a quick little chat to you, mate.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening to you, mate. It was a good run from you out there tonight on debut into this car. Brings it home P1 and a top 10. You managed to recreate the magic that Sinker did in the first one, but you went better by actually getting a win out there. I mean, how does that feel to get that going and hopefully trying to get a run next season in these cars?
Yeah, no, look, they're super fun to drive. I was just saying to the boys, it's my first time driving this, and I think they said, well, they haven't had much time either because it's a new car. So that one burst my bubble pretty quickly. But no, look, it was a real hoot. Really liked it, to be honest. Eyes are a bit sore, sort of glued to the screens, but yeah.
Well, mate, were you going hell for leather out there?
I actually, again, this is going to sound like a newbie, but I was asking the boys for some tips, and I realised you got to I think what you generally do is have your force feedback down a bit more. So I certainly was holding on, but it wasn't vibrating me as much as what I normally would in the 86s. I don't know. If you guys have ever driven it or anyone out there listening, these cars seem to brake with the downforce really, really well. So you're more throttle application and you're just really trying to steer the car through the corner than hard braking and jamming back on the accelerator. So yeah, it was a bit to learn in the first race. As you probably saw, my result wasn't that great, but in the second one, I got the hang of how the downforce pulls the car up. So yeah, it was super fun.
Mate, did you have much to do with the F3s? Had you driven it much? Because we want to try and do that comparison, see what the guys think. You think these cars are a hoot to drive, or we hope they're as much of a hoot as the F3s were? But
Yeah.
Did you have much to do with the old car?
No, I haven't, Cowie. I've literally not driven an open wheeler, to be honest. So this is, thrown in the deep end. The boys were in the chat earlier today, so I thought I'll give it a crack. And being third round, I thought probably a good time to sort of commit to the season. So no, I haven't, mate. This was the first time I've driven an open wheeler as such.
Well, it's certainly an awesome way to join the series for our Shadow F1 series, thanks to Shannon's, buddy. Let us know who's giving you all of the support out there, and congratulations on your class win.
Oh, thank you very much. Supporters are obviously SRW and the team behind the scenes that put the show on the road. Obviously, without what happens and sort of what we see when it comes game day, obviously it wouldn't happen. So I'm privy to all that, and yeah, hats off to everyone that sort of contributes. And I'm not sponsored. Anyone out there looking for a driver, I'm happy to take offers.
Mate, you can come drive for me if you want, Pricey.
No, only joking. I do want to thank the family though, because the kids do watch the stream the next day. So I do want to thank my three beautiful daughters, Lane, Ariel, and Michaela, and the wife for obviously all that she does, putting up with me sitting in a simulator for more time than I probably spent in the bedroom.
So, mate, are you gonna go off and have an ice cream now as a celebration?
I might just crack open a glass of wine, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah, the kids and wife are in bed, so.
Oh, very good, mate. Well, congratulations on a fair effort out there and a class win here tonight. Hopefully you can back this up now next season and just continue to rise up the ranks and get a little bit more comfortable in this car. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see you as a champion in this car as well. But Phenomenal drive from you, mate. Congratulations once again, and thanks for letting us just drag you down and force you to have a chat with us.
No dramas. Cheers, boys, for the broadcast. Thanks.
Thanks, mate.
See you guys.
All right, Cowie, we'll bring in our P3 in David Gallo because it appears... Oh, no, we haven't got them. Did you move him into the green room, or did you... Because I thought I moved him
into the green room.
Oh, I moved...
Yeah,
I was moving him back up to his chat. That's all right.
I think we're both dragging him at the same time.
That's all good.
so.
We'll bring in Mr. Gallo. And David Gallo, off the back of your championship win and an unfortunate end to race number 1, you managed to come home P3 here tonight on the road. That was a massive comeback, man, after having to start right at the back of the field. How was that feature race for you?
Yeah, evening, guys. Feature race was a bit of I didn't think I was going to sort of pick it back, but a bit of carnage sort of in front of me, which sort of allowed me to get a few positions early on, and sort of benefited, and then sort of head down, sort of chasing Dougie down. So he didn't make it hard, didn't make it easy for me, sorry. But I knew I sort of had a little bit of time, so just pushed on. Wasn't going to sort of do anything to jeopardise where I was, so managed to sort of get around him and make that little bit of a gap and come home P3, so pretty stoked.
All right, Dave. So the big question is, the F3, it's now the car in the sort of the annals of history as far as SRW is concerned. How's the new car shape up?
I've had a little bit of a go with Daniel, so a bit of practicing and stuff. Very much more forgiving, I think, than the F3, especially through the like the tighter corners, like the hairpin there. Yeah, very easy to loop it in the F3, where in this car you can sort of bury the gas almost, and it tends to stick. So the downforce is definitely there, and the draft at 0.5 it sucks you in, and where with the F3 it's sort of touch and go at 0.5 or 6 depending on the track. Where with this car, if you're definitely at 0.5, you're in a chance to sort of slingshot someone. So liking it, definitely liking it. I think I'll be much better suited in the rain, sort of in the coming rounds. So should be interesting. But so far, definitely enjoying it.
Well, that's it. So were you one of those that wanted it to rain tonight and just go straight into the deep end, or are you happy that it was a dry race? Get a couple under your belt and get a feel for the car.
Yeah, definitely not one for the rain. I've had minimal practice and maybe done, 20 or 30 laps in the rain. Every time seems to loop it, I reckon, a handful of times. So glad of a dry race to sort of get a feel for it and see what it's like. Yeah.
So, Dave, how long were the celebrations after winning that championship last week?
No, very, very short. That was the first time my wife sort of dialed in and watched, so I think she made a couple of comments there during the stream, but pretty wrapped with the taking out the last season. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, mate, congratulations on P3 here tonight. You continue your run of form after an unfortunate kind of end to race number 1 for you, but you come into into a couple of weeks' time for the 17th out at Fuji, hopefully feeling a little bit better in this car, I would hope. But congratulations once again, mate. Let us know who helps get you and Carlin's Motorsport out on track, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Just a shout out to Carlin's Motorsport, Driver 808, which is Daniel on YouTube, Glam Raider, Little Rara, and Eagles Automotive. And a shout out to my wife Anna and 2 daughters, Anthea and Valerie. Thank you.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck in a couple of weeks' time out at Fuji. Hopefully we'll get to speak to you again. If we don't, best of luck in season 2 in about a month's time.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Well, we will now drag in our P2 finisher for the night in Mr. Marcus Konitska. Marcus, it was a nice little battle between you and Daniel there over the last couple of laps, but unfortunately he just pipped you in the end. You managed to avoid some of the carnage early on and just get yourself up in that prominent position. How does this car feel for you compared to the F3 car?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Had a good little battle there with Daniel. So, but I always knew he was coming. Like, I think he was quicker than me all day. So, I always knew he was coming. I tried to put up as much of a fight as I can. But yeah, the car feels really good. I feel like I can push a little bit harder on the newer cars on the service. So I know the F3, the old F3 is getting a bit long in the tooth now. So, yeah, feels a bit wishy-washy, but I feel really connected to the new Super Formula lights. So yeah, excited.
Unfortunately, had a big moment in race number 1, mate. It was there for you, and you threw it away.
Unfortunate or fortunate? I think I think I won out with that one actually because I got a wicked start in the feature. So yeah, I was pretty. I was trying to I was trying to push. I was trying to keep with the pace of Daniel in front of me, but yeah, made a mistake. But after I got to the end of the race and I was like, oh, this this actually might work out better for me.
Well, I suppose that's the advantage of a reverse top 10 sometimes. But it did look like it was almost like the toe was too good down that back straight, and you get up alongside him before the kink, and then you've got to work out if you can get to the outside, so you're inside for the next turn. Looked like a bit of a dilemma going down that back straight.
Yeah, I don't have too many problems with it. Like the car has heaps of downforce, so pretty easy to go too wide through 130R. So yeah, I just tried to position myself on the inside towards the end there with Daniel. Tried to give myself like a good position for the chicane. I kind of knew I was a little bit better in the chicane through most of the race, so I felt like that was if he wanted to attack me, that was probably a good spot for me to defend. I was actually really worried about him coming into the hairpin after the two Degners. I was really worried of a dive bomb through there because I knew he was way faster than me into there.
Well, mate, does this performance now give you any confidence going into the next race out at Fuji in 2 weeks' time, or even into season 2 a week after that?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like I felt like through season 1, I felt like I had pace at a few tracks and just kept making too many mistakes. I felt like a podium was on at some point, and I just never got it. So yeah, really happy with this result, and yeah, looking forward to push on to the rest of this season of F1 Shadow and onto season 2.
Well, it was well earned tonight, mate. You fought tooth and nail, and in the end, you still managed to get that podium and get P2. Let us know who helps get you and Pace Syndicate out on track, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
I'm going to give a shout out to the boys. Yeah, they couldn't make it tonight, but keen to get them back out for next season. All the boys in Pace Syndicate, Dave and Will, who have been racing in the F3 season. And also Worm Paints. Carl hasn't done a skin for the new Super Formula lights yet, but if you haven't checked out Worm Paints on Trading Paints, check him out. He's doing some pretty cool stuff, putting sharks on Ferraris and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
Very good, mate. Well, congrats once again on your P2. Best of luck out at Fuji in a couple of weeks' time, and if we don't speak to you, best of luck in season 2.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Take care.
Thank you. We'll drag in our race winner, Mr. Driver 808, Mr. Daniel Byrne. Daniel, congratulations not only on your race win in race number 2, but your round win here tonight, obviously going 2 from 2 and continuing on strong in the F1 Shadow Series. I know you put a video out back when the SF24 first came out. You made a comparison between it and the F3. Does those opinions still stand on this car and the differences? And do you think this is a nice change for the series?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's yeah, like my first impressions probably hold true to what it is. I think it's you can just get on the power so much earlier than the F3.
Yeah, well, we saw it was still, a bit of trepidation for some of the drivers getting on it too hard. So there still is a nuance to driving it. But I think was it Ryan mentioning you sort of jump on the brakes hard and then get on the acceleration hard on exit. So does it make it fundamentally different to drive than the F3?
Yeah, sorry, my button keeps cutting out. Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, you got to drive it in a different. I keep cutting out in a different style. If you drive it like the F3, you're under driving it basically, so you can really throw this thing around and brake a lot later, turn a lot harder, get on the power a lot earlier. It's probably not quite as fast in a straight, but in the corners, it's an absolute weapon. So it's a lot of fun just to drive around, just to do. It felt like we were doing hot laps at one stage of the race there, but it was still really enjoyable and lots of downforce, and yeah, really enjoyed it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Does it still have that fun factor? Because I know that the F3, even though, again, it's a bit old and long in the tooth, it still had that fun factor about how to drive it. You know, you were on the edge. So it sounds like, you know, this car still, although different, still has that fun factor in it.
Yeah, that's right. It's got it's a different kind of edge. It's a little bit weird to explain. I think the problem is when you push it too hard, it kind of understeers, which is not as much fun as when a car oversteers. But there is a point where you can feel it pointing in, and that's pretty satisfying when you can feel it. You're right on the edge there, and it's similar in some ways, especially when the tires start getting warm. It feels similar to the F3, so probably not quite as much fun to drive as the Dallara F3, but still a heap of fun.
One more technical question for you too. You didn't take tyres in the stop? Have you had a look at that? Are tyres going to become a factor that we haven't sort of seen before in the F3 series?
I didn't take tyres, and unfortunately I did some burnouts at the end of the race there, so I don't really have good data. I had a look. My front tyres were down to 73%, so I'm guessing the rears would have been close to that. So yeah, it's pretty easy on the tyres. I don't think the track temp was super hot though, so it might have something to do with that. But yeah, at this stage it doesn't look like you need to change the tyres, but we'll see as the season goes on.
Well, mate, it's been a phenomenal run from you here tonight. Obviously, you came so close to win that championship last season, but just pipped by Dave in the end there. Let us know who's giving you and Carlin's the support out there here tonight. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? And for myself and Cowie, once again, congratulations on a phenomenal round win and getting that double win here tonight across both races.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, just shout outs to Carlin's Motorsport, Drive Raider 8 on YouTube, Glam Raider, Little Rara, Eagers Automotive, and shout outs to Atari, Bianca, French and Minka, and Zach and Levi.
Fantastic. Well, congrats once again. Best of luck out at Fuji in a couple of weeks' time on the 17th. And if we don't speak to you, then best of luck in Season 2, where you get to tackle this thing week in and week out for the first proper time for a Formula 3 National.
Thanks a lot, guys. Speak soon.
Thank you. Well, Cowie, great to speak to our podium finishers and our winners there. Unfortunate not to get Andrew Johnson in with us here tonight, but it was a good night of racing nonetheless. Gave us some good little insights into the cars, and I think our opinions and our kind of the way that we're perceiving them is it's gonna progress throughout the season, but it's going to give us a good idea of how the drivers are learning them, how the pace is going to get up, and I think by the time we get to sort of Season 3, Season 4 towards the end of the year, we're really going to have a good idea of how the drivers are handling these cars, but we're also probably actually going to get better racing out of as well as they kind of get more and more used to it as time goes on.
Well, that's it. You know, I mean, guys are still trying to find their feet. I mean, the elusive weather gods were surprisingly absent tonight as well. So that will be a new thing when the rain comes out. I know a lot of the guys there haven't put in a huge amount of time in the rain. So dodged a bullet this week, but I'm sure they're not going to be able to continue to dodge that for much longer.
Well, I think, they get a nice sort of 2-week grace period now between this week and the next round. So maybe they need to use that time to really get prepped for the rain a little bit, especially around Fuji where, obviously in F1 we've had absolute monsoon conditions before. I recall Michael Schumacher running up the rear end of David Coulthard around there. So maybe they need to start practicing that a little bit more before the next round. But it's been a great race tonight, so regardless, and great to get some action out on track in between our seasons proper. There will be talks in the background, ladies and gentlemen, of getting a special event organised for this little break as well. Info of that will be put out soon. There will be some conversations had about who will be on where and what cars will be on what track and how the formats will be. But until that happens, we will see you next time here on SLW TV for this Sunday night for the final round of the Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am Series. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe and the bell icon as well, so you are notified anytime we go live and racing. When Season 2 kicks off, you do not want to miss it. you know, you want to be subscribed. You want to get notified when we go racing. Tuesday nights for the Warner Brown Tools V8 Supercars Series. The Wednesday night, Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals. Wednesday may also be host to the Formula V Nationals. That is yet to be confirmed. The Thursday night, Shannon's Insurance Toyota GR86 Nationals. The Friday night, IMSA Shadow Series, brought to you by Warner Brown Tools. The Sunday night, Warner Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am as well. So be sure to get in on it, guys. It helps support us, helps supports the channel, helps supports the league, and it also then hopefully helps us bring you some more fantastic racing like we already have in 2024 through Season 1. But for myself and Andrew Cowan alongside me, we thank you for your time. We thank you for joining us. We thank the series sponsors of Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, Motorsport Australia, Grim Industry, Shunt Scenery, NeuroPower, and DSL Rail Services. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you here on Sim Racing World TV Sunday night for the Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am finale out at Sebring. But until then, stay safe, race hard, and hopefully we'll see you on track soon. But until then, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us.